Welcome back to the chat. Well, we're sure by now that you've seen the coverage concerning FSU quarterback Jameis Winston's code of conduct hearing late last week. So Winston declined to answer questions about whether he sexually assaulted a woman 2 years ago. He did, however, read a 5-page statement during his 2-day student code of conduct hearing. He went on to say that he did not rape or sexually assault the accuser. The ruling in the case is expected within the next 10 days. So joining us now to discuss the legal aspects of this case is our legal contributor, Heather Quick. Thank you for being here. Let's talk about the implications of this code of conduct hearing. This is within FSU, but are there any civil implications that could be brought forth with anything that he said during that?
Absolutely. Anything you ever say, whether it is in a court proceeding or any type of setting, can be used against you. And the proceedings with the code of conduct are different than a courtroom, different burdens of proof, and much lighter evidentiary rules. There really aren't any. So there's going to be a lot of information. That's why there was probably just a 5-page report prepared so that he could protect himself from...
And I'm sure his lawyers advised him to do that.
I am sure, yes, because when you're being cross-examined, questioned is when there's, that's the time when the attorneys are trying to expose lies.
So he's keeping quiet during this whole thing, and his lawyers are doing all the work. Is that what is happening?
He read the statement. That was his
other
participation.
than that, but as far as, and then he's done and his lawyers are presenting everything then.
Yes, from what I understand.
Okay, wow.
Which happens a lot. I mean, a lot of times that's why you hire a lawyer, so that you make sure that you say, and it's
because it can all be used against you.
Exactly. I'm sure words can be taken and, in different ways.
And if you're lying, you will generally get caught. And if you're nervous and scared and maybe telling the truth, you could appear to not be truthful. So there's a lot that goes into that.
It doesn't mean you're guilty.
It doesn't. It means that he's well represented.
Right.
Yes. What's the best case scenario out of this hearing, worst case scenario for Jameis?
Best case is that he wins, she doesn't prevail, and then he gets to go on and play the rest of the season games. She has a right to appeal. Okay, so that's really the best case. And it's still out there. I think it's going to implicate him for professional sports for sure. Worst case, he could be expelled.
And if he's expelled, he's off the team.
Yes, that's right. But he has a right to appeal. He has a right to appeal.
Okay. So let's say they come out and say, okay, Jameis Winston, you are expelled, right? And let's say they do that next week. Well, you still have these games coming up. The huge game that they have against Oregon, right? That they're playing, on January 1st. So they can say, oh, we're going to appeal it, and then that pushes back after the game and potentially the national championship.
Well, reality is, okay, the school's really out of session, so we're going to have a result. We're going to have a decision. But then, of course, the board school is going to have to meet on what punishment based on the decision, if any. So, and I would suggest that'll take some time.
Right. And I'll tell you, this isn't going anywhere anytime soon, because if he does decide to go into the NFL, and then we're going to probably hear more from the civil case, and so it's still going to be continued. Okay, there's a new development we wanted to talk about in a story that we talked about a few weeks ago, but had a very different approach to it. The University of Virginia had suspended all of their fraternities following a Rolling Stones article that focused on an alleged gang rape on campus. The magazine ran the story about an unidentified student known as Jackie, who says she was assaulted at a fraternity house in 2012. Now the magazine is backing off the story, apologizing, and in a letter to readers, Rolling Stones magazine, the editor says there are discrepancies in the victim's account and that the magazine's trust in her was misplaced. You're going to say what I'm going to say, so go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who spent many years as a journalist, I am appalled at the lack of fact-checking in this story. A story that was so, I mean, you knew this was just going to blow the top off of this school.
Serious accusations.
And they're very serious accusations, and you never checked. Was there a party? Was this person, did she meet the person as she said she did in the article? Very basic things that should have been checked. That said, does that open Rolling Stone up to even more litigation because they didn't do their due diligence and fact checking before putting this out there?
I think they've exposed themselves certainly to to some legal implications, and then they send us another story, another retraction saying not blaming the victim this time, really taking responsibility for not full verification, and they were criticized for not determining, if these men could be interviewed, these accused. But I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but I'm coming from the legal perspective, like they're trying to tell that story. But I do think they have some exposure because of it was a very compelling story. I was very passionate about it. It really enraged me. And the worst part is, if it, it's not that may not be true. It still may be true, but now look what that does. Now this is, here if they thought, oh, we're going to get this great story, so we go cut some corners. But now that has made it even harder for women who are going through this, because here someone told the story and they didn't do it right, so now it's going to even require the burden to be higher.
Yeah, they didn't
and
do
I
it
just
right,
think,
or it's a complete falsehood. But either
one, it's more harmful
damaging.
than if they hadn't reported it at all.
Well, and it harkens
for
back to
women
Duke,
in
too.
these situations.
And you have to think about the allegations being hurled at these guys, and if they are innocent, claiming that something happened, that's not fair, to say the least, to those guys who are implicated. All right, so there's another story that keeps developing, and we've been talking about this on the show a lot. Comedian Bill, now you're huffing. There's a lot of huffing going on. You were huffing, though. You were huffing. But anyway, so Bill Cosby, we were talking about whether or not this is going to go forward in any legal capacity, in the sense that, are we going to see criminal charges, civil charges? We've always talked about the statute of limitations. It's expired. Except for, let's talk about this California case. This woman says she was 15 when she was allegedly assaulted by Bill Cosby. But talk about the California law that the statute of limitations may not apply to her.
If it is, in every state's different, but when we have minors that are victims of sexual abuse, there is a different standard. We look at, well, when did they know? Because maybe they don't know it's wrong, when we consider really anyone under 18 that they don't have the full capacity to understand if maybe that was a crime against them. And as is common in sexual abuse of minors, they may repress it, not be able to tell, and then it comes out later, at some point in their later life, that they really then become aware, this happened to me. So when we look at that, that's when the statute begins to run. At that point in time, even as an adult, that they realized that this was wrong, this was done to them, maybe they remember.
But Heather, all of these cases extremely difficult to prove because there is no physical evidence.
That's correct. It's going to be quite the battle, and I believe that is why it's gone to the media at this point. And I really do admire the challenge Gloria Allred threw down to him. Well, and I don't think that's fair to him, really. There's no right answer to that.
Right.
That's not the way that the justice system works. But I have to admire, okay, you say let's go prove it. Let's go prove your innocence. That's great.
Yeah,
just
drop the
waive that
statute of
right.
limitations.
Put a little money aside, $100 million, just in case, and let's all have it heard out there. And I find that to be very bold, and I think she's trying to do something for these women that really they have no legal right to do.
A pipe dream.
So
Heartbreaking, so heartbreaking.
Yeah, no, the whole thing is, either like you have so many women who have manufactured this story, or all of this is true, and either way,
it's awful.
It's terrible. All right, well, thank you. Heather Quick, as always. And if you have any questions for Heather Quick, or you need legal advice, you can check out the Quick Law Group's website, quicklawgroup.com. Well, we want to know your thoughts on the Rolling Stone story. We have posted a poll on our website. The producers have. You can check it out, ladiesofthechat.com. You can weigh in, and we'll reveal the results coming up later in the show. And still to come on the chat, the cast of Dirty Dancing is going to join us live on set to talk about their performance that's in town, and we will be right back.